Right, and actually my research interest is not exactly the same as the topic of this conference, but I try to make a good connection. I hope to make it anyway. So let me read the paper here. Throughout the history of Eastern and Western culture, such kings as Plato's philosopher kings, Confucius' desirable ruler of the society of modest competency, and King David in the Old Testament all represent morally upright and practically competent rulers, the paragons of political leadership both sovereigns and subjects have long been dreaming of. I have thought about this topic for a long time, but things relevant to this topic have coincidentally happened in South Korea recently. Presumably, controversies over ideal leadership are even more relevant to the political situation in Korea these days than any other, because of the recent political turmoil in this country. During the political turmoil, the nation has witnessed a wide range of reactions to the presidential impeachment, including such an extreme case as a woman bewailing the impeached president's misfortune by calling her Her Highness. Then they have had ample opportunities to ponder upon some questions about a political leader's morality, competence, and the political and/or ideological cause the leader's followers uphold. Like many Asian people, Korean folks are well aware of the traditional value of loyalty or allegiance to a political leader, as they have learned from Confucianism. To some extent, however, Confucianism, particularly borrow the word from the Rubens, imperial Confucianism, does not fit entirely into the nation's current polity. Whereas Confucianism was predicated upon the rule of a monarch, South Korea was established as a republic and democratic country. Nevertheless, interestingly enough, it seems that repercussions of the impeachment continue to reverberate through the nation's expectations for the incumbent president and his successors in the wake of the re-evaluation of the lives of former presidents of the Republic of Korea, specifically of their morality and competence as a supreme head of the country. And as a Shakespearean, I think, just as Shakespeare's Measure for Measure had a resonance during the former US President Bill Clinton's crisis, so does Hamlet for Korean audience and readers these days. Regarding this topic, obviously, Hamlet is not the only political drama Shakespeare wrote in the period. For instance, the Henriade represents the Henry V's balanced merits in his morality and competence, contribute to his successful, though not entirely, kingship. The fall of Duncan and Macbeth in Macbeth makes a remarkable contrast with the successful English warlord in the second historical tetralogy. To some extent, thus, such stage kings' rise and fall recall what Machiavelli argues in his political treatise, The Prince, which reflects tensions between sovereign's morality and competence in the period. This paper will explore conflicting notions of kingship Mencius, Machiavelli, and King James I had, respectively. As such, despite discrepancies in time and place they belong to, this paper will discuss not only distinctions but also analogies between these three influential figures, concept of political authority and the security of the state, some controversial issues which Shakespeare represents in his political plays. Presumably then, just as modern-day broadcasting systems do, so Shakespeare's public theater can play a significant part in providing spectators with an imaginary forum for political debate. In so doing, our attempt to describe what is modern and progressive about Mencius, Machiavelli, and Shakespeare. In Korea and elsewhere so far, scholars have compared Machiavelli with Dante for their realistic approaches to kingship and politics. Rather than Machiavellian, Ciceronian precepts on the foundation of a political authority sounds very much alike to those of Mencius and other followers of Confucianism in their emphasis on love rather than fear, force, and fraud. Nonetheless, I have found an ironical analogy between Machiavelli and Mencius in their seemingly radical and even subversive notions of sovereignty. Unlike these two subjects' standpoint, however, King James had arguable notions of kingship in his obsession to the divinely ordained kingship, which conflicted with Machiavellian real politics. Presumably then, Shakespeare's Hamlet, particularly the controversial aspects of Claudia's kingship, provides us an ample ground for discussing such conflicting understandings of sovereignty as mentioned above. Mencius and Machiavelli both lived during the period of political turmoil. Such an instability engendered various kinds of political discussions, which naturally made rulers much more closely observed and keenly evaluated by their subjects. Likewise, despite the differences of faith system in kind, the contemporaries of both philosophers believed in sacred kingship or rulership, that is, a king as a regent of God or a supreme being ruling the world under the heaven. Yet they challenged such traditional notions of sovereignty in their own ways. The political aims were different, restoring moral righteousness in China and redeeming the security of unified Italy, respectively. Mencius claimed that human nature was fundamentally good, but has been deteriorated up to the period. Hence, noble men like Mencius and all the other followers of Confucius should have an obligation to restore moral righteousness in ancient China. By contrast, Machiavelli's realistic view on humanity and politics was based on his own experiences as well as a biblical view on human nature, the evil nature of mankind. To some extent, thus, his political stance permitted a compromise with reality in order to redeem the security of a state, and tensions between a ruler's morality and competence can be negotiable for the sake of his own country. But one of the common aspects of Mencius and Machiavelli is their intent to give priority to the stability of community or state over that of a ruler. Mencius' seemingly radical idea for justifying the dethronement of a worthless ruler can be regarded as Machiavellian expedient rules of government done out of necessity to protect himself as well as the security of the state. Here is a well-known passage. Actually, let's just skip this passage. Yeah, this is a very interesting and famous passage, isn't it? So, presumably, this is one of the most frequently quoted passages in Mencius as the grounds for dynastic revolution. Mencius' bold, radical, and even revolutionary justification for dethronement. According to Changwon Park's detailed explanation of this passage, Mencius powerfully rebutted King Fuxian's criticism of Confucianist tradition to uphold Tang and Wu as benign rulers. The king thought of them as mere traitors, criticizing Confucius and his followers' contradiction between loyalty and disloyalty to the king. Yet, Mencius pointed out the ineptitude of the Chue and Zhou. I'm not sure my pronunciation of the Chinese is correct, but anyway, so disqualifying them for their immorality. Mencius regarded these immoral rulers as a robber and a ruffian, mere fellows not entitled to be considered as sovereign, and that only a morally upright and competent ruler can play a vital role in the stability and well-being of the commons. From Mencius and Machiavelli's perspectives, thus, the stability and well-being of the commons outweighed a ruler's sovereignty over his or her people and state. Here we can find an ironical analogy between these two radical philosophers. Ironic mostly because of their different perspectives on humankind. Mencius demanded to purge an evil ruler from the good-natured people, whereas Machiavelli granted tolerable evil to a ruler who governs evil-natured people, as if treating them with medication. Still, what they were mostly concerned about was not the ruler, but the state and its people, a kind of humanism, one of the key concepts of modernity, I believe. By contrast, like most princes Mencius and Machiavelli served, King James claimed divinely ordained kingship, a political understanding of monarchy, exactly opposite to these two philosophers' subjects' common viewpoint on politics. Political controversies concerning sovereignty stem from two prominent but seemingly incompatible notions of monarchy in the early modern period. Political theology based on the Tudor Stuart fascination with royal sacrality, and Machiavellian principality, an emergent political science based on observation and readings in non-Christian historians and philosophers. Under these circumstances, the ascension of King James on the English throne had a significant impact on the issue of royal succession and legitimacy among his subjects. Particularly, the king's true law of free monarchies addressed controversies over a monarch's virtue and competence. According to his argument in this treatise, some kings may be or may become tyrants. While they are bad and likely to be damned, this does not entitle their subject to rebel. Let me just skip this in quotes. Yet, the king's argument concerning the monarch who might commit crimes seem quite incompatible with the idealistic view on a king as the absent present of Christ. The imaginary tyrant King James tried to advocate was neither the moral paragon in the state nor a promise of national security. Such an ambiguous but ruler-oriented notion raised questions about royal succession and legitimacy, as well as justification of deposing a tyrant king, which Shakespeare explores in Hamlet. Claudius is elected as king of Denmark, but in fact he usurps power by means of assassination, and Hamlet attempts to restore justice and morality in Arsenal by taking vengeance on the usurper for his murdered father. In many respects then, Claudius' aspects on elected usurper touches upon quite complicated and so far mentioned political issues in the play. Aside from his transgression, Claudius looks like a good, generous, and intelligent ruler, and his election to the Danish throne instead of Hamlet, the topmost candidate under the rule of primogeniture, confirms his practical competence. Before the beginning of the play, in consultation with his chief subjects, Claudius swiftly patches up the national crisis caused by the unexpected death of old Hamlet by re-establishing national equilibrium through marriage to Gertrude, the imperial jointress of his warlike state. Doubtless to the relief of all his subjects, the king resolves the conflict with Fortinbras, triggered by old Hamlet's death, with exceptional diplomatic finesse. The king manages foreign affairs with a diplomatically non-violent solution combined with military preparedness. Moreover, Claudius seemed a fair and good father king in his management of domestic affairs, including his relation to his nephew stepson. Officially and publicly, Claudius proclaimed that Hamlet is the most immediate to the throne and his chiefest courtier, cousin, and son, so that his parental concern for Hamlet's excessive lamentation, sounds amiable, effectively eliminating any possible controversy over legitimate succession to primogeniture. As the play proceeds, however, Claudius increasingly discloses his duplicity, revealing himself to be a politically crafty prince, a ruler practically capable but not entirely virtuous. Hence, Claudius reflects the Renaissance tension between a sovereign's morality and competence. To some extent, Claudius is King James' exemplary tyrant as imagined in the King's treatise, and that the stage monarch is a legitimately elected but morally defective king. As a new king, Claudius follows Machiavellian advice thoroughly. A prince should appear to be all mercy, all faithfulness, all integrity, all humanity, and all religion, because ordinary people are always taken in by influences and by the outcome of given events. However, as a moral paragon, Hamlet has plenty of reasons to dethrone the usurper, which the audience and readers do know, but the righteous prince needs to find evidences that should be approved in natural and reasonable ways in the play. To some extent, Hamlet's task fits into Mencius' justification for dethroning a worthless ruler. And at the core of those issues surrounding Claudius' kingship lies the competing ideas about sovereignty Mencius, Machiavelli, and King James upheld. In many respects, thus, Shakespeare deals with modern issues about politics in the early modern period, and the playwright's concern, particularly in Hamlet, has a resonance for Greece now. I have explored first above-mentioned figures and political views, and then examined them through the lens of Shakespearean stagecraft, focusing mainly on Claudius' kingship. In many respects, it is obvious that Mencius and Machiavelli share modernity in their approach to real politics, and thus their modernity contrasts sharply with James' pre-modern ideology of sovereignty. The political issues in Hamlet are highly debatable ones, and the play may draw much attention and interest from Korean audience and readers as well, when it comes to the justification of deposing a political leader. Indeed, to borrow G.K. Hunter's phrase, Korean audience and readers may have a relationship with stories in Hamlet, their own intelligible past, which is different from the relationship to other kinds of stories. Therefore, Hamlet and the conflicts it represents are what they are experiencing and witnessing now, and it is mediality, public theater then, and mass media now, that enables the public to observe and discuss some very modern issues in politics.